So welcome everyone to tonight's presentation of OTF Connects, Primary Literacy Through Technology with Danuta Wolasnowicz. Danuta, thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you to everyone else as well who are giving up some of your own personal private time to extend your learning and that of your students. And on behalf of Syria Skirhan, who is the administrator and facilitator of the OTF Connects program, she's always very impressed by the quality of the educators and the ideas that you share with each other during these sessions. So thank you for taking advantage of some self-directed professional learning through OTF. And here we have our nice little map of Ontario showing where all of us are from tonight. And we're really happy to see that spread across the province, getting a lot more diverse. And so please do tell your colleagues and ones that you have that work near you or those that work afar, and let them know about OTF Connects too. And now I'll hand things over to Danuta.
Thank you so much, Louise, and once again, welcome everyone, and thank you for giving up your evening to be here today. Just a little bit about myself. I have been a consultant, educational technology consultant in elementary panel for a number of years, and technology in education has always been my passion. So based on my previous experience presenting for OTF, and I'm not sure if any of you have had a chance to spend some time with me online, but I usually overplan. So I may have to skip a few slides, and that's okay. I will try not to rush because I realize that you need some time to explore those tools, and sometimes when the session is over, whether it's face-to-face or online, we just go back to the busyness and we don't have time for that. So I will do my best to give you time to explore. And having said that, most of the tools that I'll be referring to tonight will be online. So I'm not sure if Louise has mentioned, but we'll be asking you to toggle between an internet browser of your choice and Blackboard. So I will be asking you to go and explore a tool. Louise will provide us with a link, and then we'll come back. So hopefully everybody will be comfortable toggling between the browser and coming back. Now certainly I would love to know a little bit about yourself. So I'm not sure, Louise, if you had a chance to set up a poll, or if we are going to ask participants to just... Okay.
Yep, the polling tool is there. For those of you that just logged in, you'll see underneath your name in the participants box 4 little icons, and the one at the far right is currently set as a multiple choice. Sometimes we've got the green check mark there, but right now it is the A, B, C, D, E.
Excellent, Karen. A, B, and C. Yes, some of us are multitaskers for sure. That's right. Yes, you know, to be honest, I didn't even take it into account that someone may have multiple roles, and that's okay. That's interesting. Okay, so it looks like other. We have 8 people with others. So I realize there may be some perhaps student teachers, and that's lovely. It's lovely to see interest in amongst student teacher if that's the case. So perhaps supply teachers, okay, teacher librarians, lovely. OTs, okay, that makes sense. Where that, who is falling under the other category. Okay, great, thank you so much. So let's move on. And the next question I have for you, and this is what I would do in a face-to-face session, I would ask you to basically turn to your elbow partner and tell us about the tools you are currently using to enhance your literacy program. And you know, there is a possibility if you are a supply teacher perhaps, or an occasional teacher, you haven't had a chance, and that's okay as well. So perhaps either you can use the chat, or if you're comfortable with the tool, with the text tool, and just type on the whiteboard, that would be lovely. So whichever way, whichever path you would like to choose to let us know. Maybe a favorite project that you've done where technology was integrated, or a tool like a Promethean board, or a favorite website perhaps. Digital storytelling with photo story, interesting, voice thread, lovely. And the Promethean board, could be one, more than one. One is lovely, but more than one is even better. Shadow Puppet, yes, I have recently read about that. I haven't actually played with that, but it's just intriguing, and I'm going to have to install it and play with that. And Starfall is popular, yes, yes. I have seen lots of teachers, kindergarten teachers mostly using Starfall. Yes, RAS kids as well. That's, I believe there is some free content and some subscription only. Explain Everything is one of my favorite apps. It certainly lets us listen, I say to listen to children's thinking. Puppet Pulse, yes, any type of create apps, yes, Big Collage. So those of you who have never heard of these applications and you have access to iPads, you certainly may want to take note or listen to a recording, because the recording will have all of these ideas recorded for you. So I would certainly highly recommend all these apps that have been listed there. Yes, Big Collage, Bold Voice. I haven't heard of this one. Educreation is a free version of Explain Everything. Google Docs, excellent. Some people are actually using the cloud. iPad apps for reading comprehension. Thank you so much for sharing, and certainly Twitter is a great tool, a great networking tool. Comic Live, I'm glad that some of you are using the ministry license software. Google Classroom, yes, I have recently started using Google Classroom, and it allows certainly teachers to be very organized. They don't have to worry about putting students' work into folders, because it does it for them. iMovie, interesting. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing. And hopefully some of you have, as I said, note some of these tools, especially if these are apps. I know teachers are always asking, what app would you like me to install? What do you think would be great? And these are so-called cross-curricular apps, and I would say for any grades, and they just allow students to be creative, and it's so important. It's that the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, where students actually create and show understanding in a different way, and not just paper and pencil. Okay, so I'm going to thank you so much again for sharing. I'm going to move on. And those of you, and I believe Elizabeth, if I'm correct, has indicated that she listened to me before. So hopefully you will not find, I will touch on a couple of tools again that I touched upon in my last session almost a year ago. But this slide I definitely am using again, and I use it every time. It's because it's really important for me that the measure of success for me is if you use at least one idea from this session with your students. Even if you are a supply teacher, I think that you would be able to use, unless you're supplying and perhaps in grade 8, that may be a little bit more challenging. And then another measure of success would be you have shared perhaps the idea of attending an OTF webinar, or just one idea, again, passing on a website perhaps, and sharing it with your colleagues. So at some point when I finish certain section, I will be asking you to let us know which of the two. So I will be asking you for one idea that you think you will use with your students, and one that you think you will share. So this is just coming in a little while. So let's move on. As I said in the description, I will be focusing on the youngest learners, so K and 1. However, if you are teaching grade 2 or 3, or if you are a supply teacher, I'm absolutely confident you will find something for yourself to walk away with. So, good chunk of this session will be certainly spent on reading, and if we have time, I'll touch on writing, and I will wrap up pointing you to a couple of, in my opinion, fantastic resources where you can actually, I call them windows into a classroom, but again, that's towards the end of the session. So I know teachers are always looking for practical ideas, so I will not overwhelm you with theory, and most of you are familiar with it depending on how long ago you graduated from Teachers College, but you probably have been attending various sessions maybe offered by your board. So you know that there are basically 3 goals of reading instruction. You want students to understand what they are reading, you want them to be fluent, and you want them to like to read. And in order for the students to move through these different stages from emergent to early to fluent, this is what teachers need to do. And reading often, allowing them to share responses, so it would be various ways. Certainly if they are kindergarten students, drawing a picture would be a predominant way, and then perhaps later on towards maybe SK, they can also do an actual written response. They have to actually be exposed to a variety of genres, and we have to teach the reading skills. Certainly the 4 instruction strategies everybody is familiar with. So the one thing that I think everybody can relate, the biggest problems teachers have is time. When do I have time to do all this? Especially when we are focusing on FDK and when pretty much the learning has to occur through the center. So I know teachers that I talk to often, they struggle with that. It's that when do they explicitly learn all these letters and then the sounds that they make? And when do I do guided reading? When do I do read aloud when I'm not supposed to keep them on the carpet for too long? And we also know that unfortunately their reading at home doesn't always happen. So exposing children to rich language doesn't happen at home, and it's again the busyness. So many parents commute, various excuses. The bottom line is whatever we can do at school, we can't really count on support at home. Another, I think, important quote from A Guide to Effective Instruction in Reading is about online reading and on screen. So I'm going to leave you for 30 seconds to just read this quote. Okay, so I think we will all agree that being able to navigate electronic text is important, and we don't want to expose students to too much screen reading. We want them still to enjoy books, but the technology offers that opportunity. When we are not available, we can certainly set up, whether you have one computer in your classroom, a couple, whether you have a lab in your school, whether you have iPads, you can set up a couple of students that have to buy splitters, and surprisingly you can actually get splitters at the dollar store, which I don't know if you are aware, but I was quite surprised to just pay $2 for a splitter. It allows you to actually have one computer and 2 children with headphones listening to a story, and this also exposes them to social skills. They have to discuss, they have to talk, which book are we going to read. They can talk even about the book later. So there are certainly benefits in putting 2 children at a computer at the same time. So having said all that, what I wanted to focus on, as I said, teachers appreciate practical ideas. So I have focused on the theme of spring because, well, at least theoretically we have spring. Again, I'm in Barrie, so it was really hard to believe today that it was spring because it was really cold. But it is definitely coming. And so the good chunk of this presentation will focus on spring, and I hope that you will take advantage of some of these books. So this beautiful story is actually coming from one of my favorite websites that I referred to in my last session. That's probably the only database that does not contain audio. So when I'm looking at the goals that I just referred to, I was talking about a read aloud. And the problem with the read aloud, and I absolutely love books, but when I observe children who are sitting far away from a teacher, these children sometimes become disengaged because they don't see the pictures as well as the ones sitting at the front. So if you have in more and more classrooms, or even maybe one card, AV card per division, you have access to a setup where you have a projector and a laptop and sometimes speakers as well. So you can display it on the screen, on the wall, and then everybody can see those beautiful pictures. So this is something that I would use for a read aloud, starting with, okay, so I'm looking at the title Spring. And again, that activating prior knowledge. What do I know about spring? What happens in spring? What words would I expect in a book that is about spring? So this would be something I would start with, and then certainly turn pages and play it full screen. So what I would like you to do, and Luis has already pasted the link. So if you could please click on the link, and it's We Give Books, and click the link. Now what you will notice is that it prompts you to log in. So you are certainly welcome to set up your own login. It is free. Sorry about that. But I have set up a login for you, and I hope I have checked it on 3 devices. I haven't checked it on more than 3, so hopefully it will work. So this is what I have set up for us tonight. So the login would be OTF webinar as a username and the same as password. So if you could try that, and I will just guide you through what to do after. So as I said, make sure that you log in, otherwise you won't be able to see the book. Okay, so what I always remind teachers of is to play. There is a little icon in the top left corner for full screen. So if you could make sure and you click that. And what I appreciate in this particular book, and many of the books actually are the books that the students will recognize, many of the titles, the vocabulary is very rich. The students are exposed to that language that perhaps they may not, and I realize this is missing audio, but as a read aloud and as perhaps a change from us just taking a big book or any regular sized book, you know, you're looking at tiny buds, you're looking at turning deeper and deeper green, and again, you probably agree with me that illustrations are absolutely lovely. So you can certainly spend more time exploring, going through the book yourself, but when you go to actually at the top, so when you escape, you will exit the full screen, and you can go to the read link at the top and just have a look at the different titles. And you can scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll for a long time. So the way I have found the book specifically on Spring, you just do a search. So you do have an opportunity. I don't know if this is searching for just a title. I'm not sure if it searches for keywords, just like if you went to a library and you searched library database, because usually they have keywords, or it just searches the title. It might search actually the keywords as well, because I got a couple of books when I entered Spring. When you enter Easter, you will probably get a couple of titles as well. As you can see, you can filter your search through age, genre, author, and most recent. You can also look at new at the top. Okay, Epic Up. Again, never heard of that. So that's another benefit of running sessions like this, because I always learn so much from participants, and I do appreciate you sharing those resources as well. I often review the recordings myself and go back to those recommendations. So I'm not sure if you need more time, or if I can carry on. I don't want to hold anybody up. Okay, so with your permission, I'm going to move on. There will be more databases to explore. Okay, I'm sure many of you are familiar with Bookflix. If you could perhaps put a green check mark beside your name if you have used Bookflix before. That would help me, and I wouldn't waste your time. Okay, I'm just scrolling down to see how many of you have. Okay, lovely. Okay, so I'm sure that you, again, you appreciate the fact that it could be used as a center, and the pairs of fiction, non-fiction, and this is really amazing. And the fiction certainly are usually the format of a short movie. And usually the question I get is, because it is ministry license, the question is often, how do I get access to it? How do I get a login information? Now, because this will be published, what I will do, publish, I don't want to give you any login information because it is going to be public. However, at the end, I will give you a link to where you can find, it's called operational contact, so the person in your board who is in charge of all the login information, and that person will provide you with one. So again, specifically, just in case you didn't know, that Bookflix has a couple of books about Spring, and again, fiction, non-fiction. So I'm just going to move on here and point out what I really like about Bookflix is also the words that are highlighted. Student can actually click on them, and they are explained, and they are actually the definition is read aloud, and it's read aloud using a child's voice. So that's certainly helpful if you're teaching our youngest students. So K and 1, they certainly wouldn't be able to read the definition, but they can hear the definition. And another feature that I appreciate, the two activities, usually it's a word match and sequencing. And again, the word match, I'm sure that you will agree, it's usually great for students to expand their vocabulary. And sequencing, again, they are showing you understanding of whether or not they understand the story. I know teachers often ask, is there a way for me to track? Because I cannot be in every center at the same time, and unfortunately, BookLinks doesn't have a tracking mechanism. So it's pretty much what you do with your students. You observe, you maybe have sticky notes, maybe you have an electronic tool where you track and take notes in terms of whether or not they understand the storyline. So I will not stop too long on BookLinks because I could see that most of you are familiar with it, so I'll move on. Okay, this one is, I was really impressed when I saw it for a couple of reasons. One is that, again, I don't know exactly how many books are there, but I have checked and they do work on an iPad. I was afraid that perhaps it is Flash content again, but no, it isn't. So they do work on iPads. And another lovely thing about this is that it actually contains, these books contain, they have an opportunity, children have an opportunity to listen to the text in another language. So again, those of you who are teaching in an area where you have a lot of ELL students, you can probably appreciate that. So what I'm going to do is, again, if you could please click the link, no login required. So if you could click any of the two links that Luis has provided, and again, we'll go from there and I'll direct you for let you know next steps. Okay, so what hopefully everybody is on the Unite for Literacy website. It is definitely for the youngest learners. The text is simple, but it's also, it's those books that some students need because it's the repetitive language. So if you are looking at, let's say, Spring Comes to the Desert, and you go through the pages, it starts with Spring Comes to the Desert, and the beginning is the same. So again, it doesn't highlight, but again, the pictures are lovely, and the text is repetitive. So what I would like you to do now, I don't know if you discovered, but if you go to the left-hand side narration, click the narration button, and just scroll down, and any language that you choose, it doesn't matter. So if a student perhaps is of Chinese descent, or you would like them to listen to it, maybe Portuguese or even French, if the French teacher would like to expose students, so then you just click, and then another button, another icon will appear under the text, and then the child can click one or the other. The text on the screen is still English, but the reading will be in that language. So again, I'm going to leave you here for a couple of minutes. I'm going to just put a timer and start the timer, and perhaps maybe 25 seconds, just so that you can, give you some time to navigate. So when the timer goes off, we'll move on.
Danuta, I heard the bell go, but I'm not sure if you're talking breath without your mic on.
Oh my goodness! Yes, I have turned off the microphone so that I can take just a gulp of drink of water, and I totally got. Thank you so much, Louise. So I apologize. Yes, I have been talking and nobody heard me, so my apologies. I just said very quickly, to recap what I said, was that most of the books, the databases come from US, and that's probably why they don't have a big demand for French books, and that's why it's so difficult to find any. And I often get asked that question, and I'm sorry, I haven't come across a good database of ebooks in French. So again, this is one of my absolute favorites. National Geographic has made some improvements since my last presentation, so I wanted to highlight those improvements. But it is, when you go to the website, it's you just see the latest issue, and then every issue, just be aware that every issue has more than one article in it. And I'm just surprised that it's still free. No login is required. Again, a wonderful, wonderful database to use in a center, because this exposes students to not only the non-fiction content, and I don't know too many children that don't like animals, so most of them are animal science related, but also the pictures are, it's actually not pictures, they are photographs, and they are stunning. So those of you who haven't seen it will probably agree with me. So there's always a listen and read, and then there's a for teachers section. So that for teachers section has changed, and it has changed because they are saying this database is geared towards K and 1. So they have now, they have provided teachers with two separate teacher's guides. So teacher guide for kindergarten students looks different because it's more picture drawing based in terms of the activities suggested, and it's slightly different for grade 1s. So I'm going to just move on here to the next slide. Okay, so what I was looking again, as I said, we are still in that spring theme. I wanted to make sure that everything that I highlight in reading is spring related. So you could see that there is a little icon, and it's just students know to click to listen to it. Some of you will probably agree with me that it's not always as fluent as I would like it to be. Sometimes they are just doing phrasing than fluent reading. So this is something that I would probably say to them, you probably would have to improve. But I could be wrong, but this is the only concern I have. So this particular issue that you're looking at right now, it's not March of this year. I have gone back, I believe it's April of 2008, but the content is really not time sensitive. Spring is spring, and children like to read about butterflies. They like to look at certainly the life cycle. So it really doesn't matter that that this particular issue is not the latest one. So what I want to show you before I let you explore. Okay, so if you're looking, this is the March 2015 issue, and it deals with colors, but it doesn't specifically deal with spring. So maybe the April one will. But as you could see on the screen here, they have two different versions of teacher guide. Also, I am pointing to the projectable edition. So I know some of you may be lucky to have a smart board or a Promethean board, and that's certainly, I think, geared towards those teachers. But even if you don't, and you just display on the screen, the difference is you display it full screen, unlike the actual article, and you don't have those little distracting icons to click to listen to it. So again, if you're teaching features of nonfiction, I know that there is not too much time that you can spend if you're a kindergarten teacher on whole class instruction, because really, like, it should be mostly center-based. However, you do some explicit teaching, and I know that many kindergarten teachers spend, let's say, 10 minutes for a read aloud, maybe one in the morning and one in the afternoon. So that would be the database I would definitely direct you to. So if you could, no, somebody's referring to an iPad. No, there is something for an iPad, I believe the iPad version you have to subscribe to, if I am correct. I know I have tried a couple of times, and unfortunately all this content is flashed, so sorry to disappoint you, but it's not going to work on iPads. So not sure, Louise, if you have, yes, you have posted. So if you could please click the link, and I'll just follow along and just give you a couple of directions and perhaps. Okay, so what I would like you to have a look at is at the top you see the tabs. So when you click read the story, obviously it's going to take you to the latest issue. If you click on the green one, more issues, this is where I found the one from 2008 that talks about butterflies. So if you click more issues and then just go through, they started in 2009, and you just scroll all the way to the bottom, lots and lots of covers, and then click at the very bottom. I hope you can find a link to past issues. They go all the way back to 2007. So as you can see, a huge collection. I will show you a different way, because even though you can show it to your students, kindergarten students may have a little bit of a problem to navigate, because they have to remember to go to more issues, past issues, but there's a different way that I'm going to show you, perhaps will be easier. But what I find helpful is when you click the blue tab, Story Calendar, it actually shows you different themes in different months. So this is repetitive. So usually it's, regardless of the year, publication year, the themes, the topics remain the same. So anyway, I will stop talking. I will put the timer on, and this time I will remember to put it on seconds rather than minutes, because last time I put it on 25, but it was minutes. So I'm going to put it on perhaps 30 seconds and start the timer, and I'll just give you a few minutes to explore that database. And if you have any questions, please share them in the chat. Okay, this time I remember to turn the microphone back on. Any comments? Anyone would like to share if you think that it can be, yes, I do agree. And as I said, I really like the projectable one as a follow-up. The students are listening to different articles, and you can direct them to a specific issue or just let them read any of the magazines, but you can certainly talk about details. If you have an interactive whiteboard, you can cover, using a screen, you can cover part of the picture and let them make inference of what do you think the picture, what is in the picture. Again, I have another 15 minutes. I have never learned so. Okay, so thank you so much for that comment. As I say, I try to make it as practical as I can, and hang in tight because there's more to come. So I'll keep moving. And I talked about the calendar, and this is another collection that again is, when I discovered it, I was just totally stunned, and I thought, okay, it's probably going to be just a teaser. It's going to be free for a bit. As we know, those iPad apps are often free, and then they ask us to pay for this and that, and I was surprised that not only is it free, but it's also tablet friendly, and it has become tablet friendly recently. So 250 free tablet-friendly books. If you have ever been a reading recovery teacher, and I used to be, I was really excited to see Kipper and Floppy, and these are the characters, the British books, and I remember my students just absolutely loved Floppy. So if Louise has pasted the link, so if you could perhaps just click and we'll explore it together. Okay, we'll explore it together as soon as we log in. So before we log in, if you could just have a look. So what I took you to, you have two options. You have My Class Login or the login. So if you could listen to me for a moment, because I have actually learned the hard way. So when you create an account, so you're going to have to create an account. I have created one for you for tonight again to make it easier. But when you create an account, it will only allow you to log in simultaneously on not more than 5 devices. So again, it might work, but if you let's say sometimes teachers sign out the lab and you have the class perhaps, or everybody logging in, that's not an ideal way. So you create an account and then you can create, and I have explained the steps so you won't be confused, because again, it took me a while to figure out how do I create a class login. And the class login allows you up to 50 students to log in at the same time, and you can create up to 5 classes. So anyway, so you're going to click My Class Login right now. And I'm assuming that Louise, yes, Louise has actually pasted. So you are my students right now, so you are going to enter my best class 15, and I made the username and password the same. And this is something you need to keep in mind, because especially if you're teaching young ones, they have to be able to log in without calling you and say, it's not working, and they are typing difficult username, different password, and you are running around and you're frustrated. So something really simple. Please keep in mind that it has to be something that hasn't yet been taken by anyone else. So that's why I had to put 15 for 2015, because my best class wasn't working. So just think ahead of time what your class login will be. And hopefully everyone is in. I'm just going to look at the chat. Okay, and again, as you could see, you can filter it based on ages, book type. So this is probably most common. So perhaps nonfiction. So if you are teaching older students, you may want to do just narrow it down to perhaps 6, 7, or even older. Of course, the more you filter, the fewer titles you are going to have. So you're going to have less than 250. So again, I will put a timer on perhaps 40 seconds, because it's an amazing collection, and I will let you explore. Okay, I realize that I'm not too generous with time, and I apologize for that, but I'm just going to pause for a moment and see if anyone has any questions. Yes, there's a couple of activities there. They are not awfully sophisticated, I would say, but certainly, you know, something as an extension to just reading, and iPad friendly. Yes, that's certainly. I was quite impressed when I first came across this collection a few years ago, and I guess there wasn't a demand, but I think last year, if I remember correctly, they actually must have converted all of them from Flash to I believe HTML5, which will work on tablets. So, okay, so I'm going to move on. So this is the steps, and again, I will explain how I have structured my support materials from this session for you, rather than just a slideshow that you would have to go through each slide. I will explain at the end how I have organized your support materials. But basically, once you log in under your own name, in the top right corner, you're going to see Create Class Login. And this is what I was referring to, and this is what I created for you for tonight when you were my students. So please remember, make it as simple as possible, and just bookmark on your computers, and that would be the activities, the activity for your students, again, exposing them to language that they don't always hear at home if they are not read to. Unfortunately, many students are not these days. All right, so these are the steps to create a login. And just wanted to, usually when I look for content to support teachers, I usually look for different types of content. I look for songs, I look for electronic books, read aloud, videos. So I realize most of you probably are familiar with Learn 360 website, another ministry licensed resource. I just wanted to share one little tip that as I was watching teachers look for different content, I realized sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I'm sure you can relate, especially if you're using YouTube. That's particularly overwhelming when you're getting, or even when the students are doing Google search and they get 6 million hits and they usually check the first 2 pages and then they lose interest. So just wanted to share a little tip. So I'm not sure if you want to log in, if you know your login. Please feel free to log in. I will try to do a web tour. I tried with Louise the other day and it was a little bit slow because I'm on a Mac. So if it doesn't work, I will just explain what I mean. So basically the step is I'm putting in Spring in the search field. I click return, or I click the search button, and it gives me 691 results. Again, 691 is not as bad as if you were doing YouTube. Probably you would get, or Google search would give you something in the millions, but it still is a bit overwhelming. So what I always suggest, just a little tip in case you didn't know, if you're a teacher librarian, you probably do, so I apologize. You just narrow down your search. So on the left you will see I have checked the box for K-2, if this is what you're after, and then I just want full videos and video clips. And if I do that, I will get from 691, I will narrow it down to 37. So I'm going to see if I can do a web tour very quickly. If it doesn't work, again, I'm going to just forget this idea and move on. Okay, so it's it's coming up. I hope it's coming up on your screen as well. I'm just going to try and log in. Okay, so if you could perhaps just, Louise, let me know if you can see. I was going to have another computer today logged in, but as I said, I was scrambling a little bit, so I didn't have a chance to set up another computer to see what you see. Can you see my Learn 360
I see
screen?
the Learn 360 screen.
Yes.
And folks, why don't you give us a green check mark using your polling tool to let us know if you can see it as well. You won't be able to see the full window unless you're on a very big screen, but if you're on a smaller screen, you can use your scroll bar to the right or down at the bottom of that web tour space to see more of the screen.
Okay, okay, so you can. Okay, so as I said, I'm doing a search for something, so for something related to spring. Click search. Not sure if I'm going to get anything. Still waiting. Oh, all right, here you go. So hopefully you can see 691 results. This is what I was talking about. I know you probably your screen will go a little wonky, so I'm going to scroll down.
Hang on
just a little bit.
And Danuta, you know what? We need to switch over to application sharing rather than the web tour.
Oh, really?
So that's the middle button. So the button just to the left of the web tour. Switch over to that one, and then.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And then choose your browser that's got the Learn 360 site open.
Okay. It's probably.
Okay, folks, it should be loading up now. And if you don't see that, I'm just looking down the participant list here. Joyce, maybe Lisa, there may be a couple of you, but it should refresh shortly. So give us your green check mark if you can now see what looks like Danuta's desktop. actually we see the big gray box. So Danuta, whatever window you've opened over top of your Explore 360 is blocking our view because you're only sharing just where your Learn 360 is.
Okay. Okay. Okay, you know what? I will just probably stop sharing and I will go back to whiteboard. I think that makes sense. I don't want to waste too much time as I'm looking at the time and we are at 8:30. So I think this just narrowing down the search makes sense. I just wanted to give you a little tip just in case you didn't know that this can. And again, I encourage you to visit Learn 360. There is a couple of video clips that you could certainly take advantage of when you introduce students to Spring. All right, so as I said, I usually try to also find, especially when I'm talking about the youngest learners, songs, especially songs that have the repetitive piece and that rhyme. As you know, the rhyming piece is crucial in developing students' phonemic awareness. So, so here's I have recently discovered YouTube for Children, and certainly you can probably appreciate YouTube for Children versus regular YouTube is because you are missing, you don't have any of this annoying content distracting through, around the video, no ads. I don't think there are ads. I haven't come across any. You could see that this is still in a beta version, but we can actually go there and just explore for a moment. And again, if you put in a search for Spring, hopefully you have the same on the screen. This very first song, Spring is Here, is certainly when I played it and then I couldn't stop singing it and humming it for the rest of the day. So I will give you a second or so to just go down and see if you can play it for a moment. So I'll put the timer for, again, 40 seconds. Okay, any comments? So I'm hopeful that soon the content that is on the YouTube website, that everything will be carried over. YouTube says that they actually in the process of transferring children-appropriate content. And I haven't checked if schools whose YouTube is blocked, if YouTube for Children, it really shouldn't, because it is different. I haven't checked that because in our board we do have access to YouTube. So okay, there are no comments. I'm going to move on to just a couple of more songs about Spring. Not sure if you are familiar with this website, Reading is Fundamental. And if you're looking just, I'm specifically, as you could see here on the screen, there is a preschoolers tab and it's got a sing, read, and play. And my favorite is the sing. And there are some games that I would say are appropriate and they are not drill and practice. And there are some stories that perhaps you will enjoy and the students will enjoy. But again, the song that I would like to highlight on this one is The Green Grass Grew All Around. So again, not sure if Louise has pasted the link for us. Okay, thanks Louise. So again, I'll just set the timer and give you a little bit of time to have a look at it and perhaps sing along with the song. Thank you for your comment, Jessica. Yes, these songs are adorable for sure. Okay, so I'm going to move on just to, speaking of YouTube for children, there is another way to play that content that you're probably familiar with, not necessarily using YouTube. So I'll refer to this in a moment. Just wanted to let you know, earlier I mentioned that sometimes bookmarking a website for young children doesn't work because children are, well, many of us, 62% apparently of all of us are visual learners. So certainly children appreciate pictures. They just relate to pictures, not to text, because when you're a kindergarten student one, it's just kindergarten specifically, it's just a bunch of symbols, not necessarily a link. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with Symbaloo. If you would like to give it a shot, if you are tech savvy and you would like to try it, but Symbaloo is a great tool to allow you to gather some links in one, like specifically, this is an example that you see on the screen. So you just capture either the covers or do a screen capture and then collect them in one spot, and then just you get one link for that whole collection and you can bookmark it for your students. However, better yet, instead of, because it takes time, I have created one and I will show you mine, but it just takes a long time to create. So if you go to Symbaloo Gallery, we don't have time to go there right now, but this is where I found those different Symbaloo collections that I would like to refer to. So this is one of them. And if you would like to, again, click the link, if you haven't already, that Louise provided us with. And this specifically is, I'm sure that you recognize all of these titles. These are just probably your favorites. So that's certainly my favorite. And all you need to do is, just like Louise provided you with that link, you would be able to access all these different, so Barnes & Noble specifically. Okay, so when you click any of these titles, so let's say Hungry Caterpillar, because again, we're looking for spring. If you try to open any of these links, you noticed that it opens in what's called at the top, SafeShare.tv. This is a fantastic tool. Again, I highly recommend. As you can see, it's not opening in YouTube. All you need to do is, and again, I wish I had time to demonstrate, but all you do is open SafeShare.tv in one tab or in one browser, YouTube in another, grab that YouTube URL, paste it in SafeShare, and it will give you this SafeShare link. Okay, so once again, open YouTube, find the video you are looking for, or the content you're looking for, grab that URL, paste it into SafeShare, and bookmark. And this is how this collection was created, this Barnes & Noble collection. I'm just going to look at and see if there are any questions about this. Yes, Symbaloo is great when you're looking for. Yes, there's lots. Gallery has lots of different options. So I'll go through the ones that I selected for you. Okay, so there is this one, National Geographic. So as I said, you can either bookmark the main site and show the students how to go to more issues and then past issues. This is certainly not an exhaustive collection. What I'm looking at, it could have been created maybe last year, but I think it's fairly rich. So even if the students explore these links, it still is going to keep them busy for a while. And then, and I'm going to the next one. This is my own collection. I reorganized it slightly recently. Again, a couple of sites that I have referred to. If you're looking at the bunny, I'm sure that many of you will recognize Howard Wigglebottom. Many kids just love him. And this is a very helpful collection if you are looking for something on character education. So he has some books about bullying, about courage, about lying. So I encourage you to explore this one. Again, I wish we had time tonight, but highly recommend. Storyline Online, many of you are familiar, the top left corner. Reach to Me, the red one, with camcorder, again, from, surprisingly, it's from Las Vegas, but it's just, again, read by actors, Molly Mocassins, again, at the top. Anyway, great databases that I didn't have time to mention tonight. So, yes, thank you for, yes, Matt Gomez certainly is one of my favorite bloggers. I often check his links as well. So I'm going to just go through here. And this is just, again, I selected this collection because it's got so many awesome songs that are appropriate for kindergarten students. It's a mixture of math and some fairy tales. You could see some a variety. But anyway, YouTube songs, again, in one place. And the next one is specifically on counting and patterns. Again, totally digressing. It has nothing to do with spring, but since I was looking for relevant content, I came across these ones. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to definitely throw them in because teachers will appreciate having all of them in one place. Okay, and YouTube videos, again, some dancing. I know we have to teach dance, and some teachers are more comfortable than others. So I know that I have seen in many schools where teachers are actually taking the AV card, displaying the video on the screen, pausing often, and the children are just dancing away, following the steps on the screen. So again, if you're not a dancer, technology certainly makes up for it and helps out. Okay, so I've been talking for quite a while and hopefully haven't overwhelmed you too much. So if you could perhaps on the next screen, just think for a moment. I have actually made a list because I realized it was a lot. So on the next slide, you will find a list of ideas that I have shared. So one idea that you will use next week, most likely, and then one that you will share with your colleagues. Ideally, if you could use perhaps the clip art. Luis has demonstrated how to use it, or if you rather just type it in the chat box, that's okay as well. So if you could perhaps just go through and see if it could be the same, if you think that you would like to use something, and also share it with your colleagues.
I'll just explain the clip art again for anyone that joined late and isn't familiar with it. There's a little vertical tool strip on the left-hand side of your whiteboard, the very bottom tool. If you click on that, you'll get a pop-up window. Then click on the Common Symbols tab, and you can grab any of those symbols there and drop it onto the whiteboard.
Okay, so, wow, everybody's very proficient using those tools and having a lot of fun with those. Okay, so I'm glad that, as I always say, you know, it's spending your own time, your evening. You could be reading something, watching a movie, talking to perhaps your partner, your spouse, relaxing, and yet you are here with us and participating in the webinar. So I always make sure that you walk away with something practical, and it looks like you have something to use next week, and you also have selected something to perhaps share with maybe a colleague next door, or if you are a supply teacher or LTO, if a plan isn't as detailed as you would like it to be, perhaps there are some computers or perhaps there's a lab that you can sign out and use in the classroom. Okay, so I'm mindful of time, and it is 8:46, so as I said, I wanted to touch on writing, but perhaps I will leave it for another webinar or for a face-to-face session if I have an opportunity. So what I will do now, so thank you so much again for giving me some feedback on what you will use. And what I wanted to do is, again, I wanted to refer to the goals of writing instruction, and again, just very quickly, but I wanted to focus on, let me just go through this quickly, on Clicker 6. And I know some of you may have used Clicker 4, and then there was Clicker 5, but then Ministry recently upgraded to Clicker 6. And I just wanted to give you a taste, perhaps just plant the seed in case you haven't seen it, or in case you don't realize how it has improved. I just wanted to show you the interface. So what I really appreciate about Clicker 6 is it is this tool that allows the youngest learners to publish, and as you know, publishing is the last step of the writing process. And the students really like when something looks pristine and polished. So it could be just the one sentence and a picture, and yet when the teacher prints it and displays it, because as you know, most of the time, most teachers now, instead of having those commercial, sometimes old posters in the kindergarten room, they have students' work. So you know, they look and they can say to their parents when they bring them in, oh, this is mine, and it's just typed nicely and has a picture. I know they can use Word, they can use Pages, they can use, I don't know if they use Google Docs, but this is so much simpler. The toolbar is very simple, as you can see at the top. This new version of Clicker has word prediction, which certainly is very, very helpful for young learners. The speak text is still there, so when they finish typing, they hear their sentence and they can insert an image. So very quickly, I'll just go through this. And when they insert an image, they have three choices. They can paint their own picture, they can take one from a webcam, and they can insert an image that is part of Clicker 6 library. So I just wanted to show you a couple of examples, and as I said, detailed. I wanted to show you how Clicker works, but I am mindful of time. So just a couple of examples. So this is an example of a project students did in the spring. We plant seeds. So of course this was after some practicing, writing on paper, editing with the teacher's help, and then you've got a picture that has been edited from Clicker library. This one is showing an interface, again, very simple interface for painting. So a child has painted a picture. The same, we plant seeds, but it's the child's own picture. So I'm sure that you have heard of All About Me portfolio that all students are supposed to be assembling. So in our board, actually, kindergarten students have to submit two pieces, or the teachers have to submit two pieces. So it could be one of those pieces that would be going into the All About Me portfolio. So any questions about, again, as I said, this is also Ministry licensed, and I wanted to show you who you can contact if you would like to install it. Please, a reminder, most teachers know, but if you're a teacher in Ontario, you have every right to install any piece of software that is installed based on your home computer for lesson preparation. It's just a matter of where do I get that CD. So I will share that with you momentarily. Again, Clicker has a collection of free resources. So this is an example of what I got when I went to search for spring. I will give you my contact information in case somebody wants to have a look at Clicker and have a look at different activities that are already there for you, and you can just use them if you are familiar enough with Clicker. Okay, so let me just go through and I'll just skip this and go to, we are wrapping up. I referred to a couple of PD resources. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this particular website, but it is a collection of not only PDF documents, because I realize they are helpful as well, but what teachers always, I remember when I was teaching, I always wanted to visit another classroom and see how other teachers are teaching the same grade. And unfortunately, you probably agree with me, it's not an option. I mean, not too many teachers can get released to actually go and visit another classroom. And this, now again, the technology allows us to do just this. And so what I would like you to do, Louise has pasted the link, so I would just take you through, perhaps just for a moment, so that you will hopefully agree with me that this is an amazing database. So click the link, and once you are there, if you could please, don't go to Resource Center, just scroll down, please, almost to the bottom. And there's actually two links. One is Kindergarten Matters, Building Blocks for Learning. I realize this, I'm talking to kindergarten teachers, but there's other videos as well. And so both of them, more so, I'm talking specifically, I'm referring to reading. So planned, purposeful, and playful talk. So if you click that arrow, it will show you that there are 13 videos, or video clips. And when you click that and scroll down, you will see that there's different video clips. Some of them are just experts talking, some of them it's actually the educators talking, and you've got various snapshots of various classrooms. And so again, I think it's an amazing database of resources, and I'm just showing you kindergarten and referring to reading, but there's much more there. So if you teach a different grade, or if you are interested in any other topics, highly recommend. So I'll leave you for a second to explore that. Not sure if there are any questions. Okay, this one is another one of my absolute favorite PD resources. So if you would like to click the link, the name is interesting, the Balanced Literacy Diet, and it is developed and maintained by a very reputable organization, OEZ and UFT. And it truly is research, putting research into practice in the classroom. So again, when you click the link, it is very addictive, so I'm warning you. Perhaps you want to do it after, if you have children, if you put them to bed in the evening. If you start by exploring those tabs at the top, depending on what you are interested in, so by grade, by topic, virtual tours, again, snapshots into various classrooms, and how-to videos. Lots and lots of practical ideas of how other teachers are tackling. So for example, what I have recently had a conversation about spelling, and I said, well, many teachers are still doing spelling tests, spelling words on Monday and spelling tests on Friday, and the words are totally not meaningful to the students, and they just cramming them, and some of them are passing, some of them are failing, and a lot of frustration and not too many benefits. So a different way of looking at perhaps word study instead, and again, the whole concept of word study. So again, strongly recommend that you give it a shot and spend some time, if you have a moment, to explore this one. Okay, so again, as I mentioned, I haven't mentioned actually, I am on the OSAPA committee, and this is the committee that reviews and recommends software to be licensed for the province. And we have recently revamped our website. So if you look at our website and you go to resources at the top, you will have a list of software or online resources that we have licensed. So that's certainly many teachers are asking for, I need to know what exactly do I have access to. So again, this website will be provided to you. Louise has pasted it. So under resources at the top, you are going to see digital learning resources and a whole list of what has been licensed. And if you are looking for that contact, again, this link will be provided to you. You basically click the link, enter the name of your board, and you should be able to get the name and the contact information of the person in your board who would provide you either with a CD, if it's, for example, Clicker or any other install-based software, or with login information, if it's Bookflix, Learn360, or any other online-based resource. So just wrapping up, what I will do, and I have done actually already, is created a folder in my Google Drive, and I have created separate pages for almost every resource I referred to. I will update my slideshow based on what I covered and what I haven't, and throw it in there as well. So the link that Louise will provide you with, and actually provided you with already, you may want to click on it right now to just very quickly have a look at what the structure of that folder is and what you will see. Okay, so this is what it looks like. If you click on any of these resources, it will provide you with some detailed information and some perhaps steps if you have to, for example, for OWL, how to create a class login. So anything that I mentioned, and the Sambalu collections again are here, my own database. So this is what it looks like. And as I said, it's not complete. I will make sure it is completely finished, not later than tomorrow night. And basically, wrapping up, we have just 2 minutes. If you would like to type perhaps in on the whiteboard or in the chat, one idea that perhaps intrigued you or one that you would like to learn more about. Sambalu, yes, that certainly is very rewarding. As I said, the first one took me a while, but once I had it done and I saw how it made students' life easier and how they were able to find resources quickly, highly recommend. Clicker 6, okay, yeah. I realized that I just planted the seed and perhaps just, it's really a great resource. PLC for sure, yes. Explorer. Okay. I realize that Louise probably wants